Howdy, folks. Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And welcome to a Sunday gaming chat. Looks like we got somebody in here, a couple people maybe. Howdy, how are you all doing? I'm doing pretty good. Just trying to gear up for summer now that we didn't have a spring. We literally went from winter to summer. Like we'd have like one day where we'd have like what you would call springtime weather, where it would be nice and not horrifically windy and cold and everything, and decent amount of sun. And then we'd go back to rainy / snowy, cold, windy, everything else. And now it's going to be 88 today. So spring, as far as I'm concerned, is a fucking myth. Doesn't exist. Fall exists basically for Halloween. And hey, Colin. And other than that, you go from summer to winter, but you have a little bit of a fall. But spring, as far as I'm concerned, is a myth, at least in the state of Utah. So, how's everybody else's weekend going weather-wise? How are things over across the pond, Colin? I really should look into more about whatever happened with Brexit. I remember that being this ginormous deal, and I'm sure for you guys it still is, but I'm just interested to know what the status is. I haven't heard any news over here about Brexit in quite a while. So a massive shit show. I believe that. Yeah. It seems like the whole world is out of sync. It's like, yeah. And that I'm sure didn't help things either. So now you've got Finland wanting to join NATO, which is a good thing, and destabilization with the whole Russia thing and all that. And then you got Brexit, and you got all of our problems here. The United States, we are an entire box of fucking problems here. So, yeah, the whole world's out of sync. It needs to be like you do with your computer. It needs to be turn it off and turn it back on. We need to do that for the whole goddamn planet Earth. So anyway, we're here to talk about games. So today, I'll wait till we get some more people in here. But we're gonna do some show and tell. We're gonna go through my Star Wars RPG stuff, because I got like a lot of this shit. I bought it as not necessarily a collection, but there was a online role-playing game dealer that on their online store, they had a deal. And I remember I went on to buy these two box sets, which are still in shrink wrap. And when I was there to buy those, because I wanted just the base game and everything, because I was thinking about getting into it. And then they had all this other stuff I'm going to show. They had the rest of it as a bundle for $50. For most of it. Some of it, I think there's a couple books I got like at a secondhand store or something like that. But for the most part, the rest of it was like one bundle, which is incredible. So we'll go through all that once we have some more people in here and everything. So if we get any more people in here, there's no guarantee. So, Colin, I have not gotten Far Cry 6. I went on to the Epic Game Store and to uh, the Uplay store, and couldn't decide. Like, they had like 4 or 5 different types of. They had the regular base game, then they had the deluxe, then they had the freaking gold, then they had the like ultimate, then I mean, they had like all these different ones, and it was like okay, I'm gonna wait till I can talk to you guys, and probably you specifically, Collins, who asked me about it before. Um, is it fine to just get the base game? Because like, I'd hate to, really want to get some of that other stuff, and but it's like they go up in price quite a bit, as you go up, as you step up. So it's like, um, Colin says I was literally unable to give Ubisoft money. Was it not? Was the store not working? I've had that shit happen before too. Yeah, I've had. I'm trying to think. Well, for one thing, and this is completely ungame related, but I got to tell this story. Where we get our power, there's a company called Rocky Mountain Power. Um, Rocky Mountain Power, uh, which, as it sounds, is like not just for Utah. It's like the whole Western United States kind of a thing. Colorado, Utah, I think Idaho, Wyoming, a whole bunch of states or whatever. And I pay all my bills, pretty much online now, usually with my phone through an app or whatever, with no problems. Almost 95% of everything I want to pay, they want my money. So they make it easy for you to pay via the app, except for Rocky Mountain Power. Rocky, as you know, on your phone, you got your little fingerprint deal here that you can verify yourself, instead of using a password and a username, password, and all that bullshit. You can just, whatever app it is, you can just say use your fingerprint thing, and it verifies you, and then you don't have to worry about a password or anything like that. All the other ones, no problem. Rocky Mountain Power, it asks me every time. It makes me log in with a password and all, and then it says, "Do you want to be able to use fingerprint ID?" Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, okay, use the thing. Touch your finger to the thing so we can register your thing. Boom, done. Now you can use that every time. And every time next month when I go back to pay it again, it says no, fingerprint thing unavailable or whatever. You got to use. And so for one thing, they're the only app I have to still use a password and all that for. And then once you get in there, it's like, to pay it, it takes you to a third party, some bill pay company thing. And like you were saying, it's like deciphering the fucking New York crossword, New York Times crossword puzzle to figure out how to get to where you can pay your goddamn bill. Every month I go through it, every goddamn month. And I can't figure it out. It's like, you guys want our money, right? You want to get your money. Make it easy. So anyway, sorry, that's a little side rant there, but as long as we're talking about, before, with all these companies that accept any kind of electronic, which is all basically all fund transfer now, it's all electronic. Very few people write checks and all that stuff. That should be their number one, to keep them in business. They should make it as easy as possible for people to give them their money, including Ubisoft. And I believe that because if you, as far as I can tell with Uplay, if you open Uplay, the desktop app where all your games are in your library and all that stuff is, you can't just buy games through that. As far as I haven't figured it out. It's a very simple app, but it just has your library and a couple other things on there. But if you want to buy a game through Ubisoft, you got to go to their actual website separately out of the app to do that. And then whether or not, would it successfully link up with your Uplay to register your game in your library, so if I'm going to no, I do my Uplay is, I do it on my desktop, because I don't Yeah, I don't even have their app on my phone, but I suppose I could, and it would be linked, I'm sure, to my account. But um, I do it through the desktop app, and the desktop app does not uh, allow you. I'll go to it right now. Shit, and I'll tell you exactly what it does. If I can find where I put the damn shortcut on here. Um, oh, it's called Ubisoft Connect. Yeah, that's it. But all of their, like Steam, the thing I like about Steam is everything is one platform and you can do everything. So Ubisoft Connect, you can go to your games, you can see my games, you can see free games, demos and all that stuff. You can click on news and it has all the different news about all the Ubisoft products and all that kind of and events, that they're doing and all that stuff. But nowhere on Ubisoft Connect and it has my name and my level 19. And of course, if you've got any you play coins or whatever, but it does not allow you you can activate a key once you buy a game, I guess. But you can't, there's no link to their online store through this Ubisoft Connect. So you can play everything from here and you can look at your collection and all that stuff. But if you want to buy a game on your desktop, you got to go to a separate website. So to me, that makes no goddamn sense. Um, it's extra complicated, So anyway, so I don't know if I've never tried. I don't know if I've ever bought. I guess I have had to, because most of the stuff I've got for their stuff I've got through Steam. Far Cry 6 is not available through Steam. You can't get it's an exclusive through Epic Games. So I suppose I could buy it through Epic and it would hopefully link it uh with my Ubisoft Connect. So it would show up in my library, I would hope. So, but back to my original question. Well, I'm guessing you couldn't even buy it, so you can't even tell me if which version is the one that you can get by with for Far Cry 6, or if you need to get the better versions and all that stuff. If it's worth the money. But I'm not in that much of a hurry to play it anyway, so I think you're the only one in here, Colin. You're the only one that's checked in and said anything. So might just be the two of us. Yeah, I've never and Colin, I've never used if they have a phone app, I've never done it through the phone. Because like I have the Steam phone app, and I can buy a game. I can be when I used to be at work and there'd be a Steam sale, I could be at work on my phone app, I could buy it and I could install it on my rig at home. So hey Mike, nothing wrong with lurking. People say that sometimes the quietest people in the room are usually the smartest. Well, that didn't blow up in my face. I consider that a win. I had a 12 pack of this. You get the refrigerator 12 pack deals. I was carrying two of them in from the garage. And one of them, the fucking container, the 12 pack container, just spontaneously decided to explode. Like it literally just like fell apart in my hand, and the sodas went literally everywhere. Half of them rolled back into the garage, went down the steps into the garage under shit. The other half went in my kitchen, some into the living room, and they fucking went everywhere. And I was like, so that's how the day's gonna go, huh? But luckily I waited long enough, and this one did not spew all over the place. So, but that's how my morning started. Like I didn't hit it against anything. It just decided to just fail. Just me carrying it in. So, let's see here. Colin said I played a bit of Far Cry 3 earlier. Far Cry 3 was pretty damn good. Is that the one is that the first one, the bad guy in that? I can't think of his name. He was, like, truly goddamn evil. Like, I can't remember his damn name, though. I think it was Far Cry 3. Excuse me. That's it. Boss. That guy. You knew exactly what I was talking about. That guy was a dick. Uh, so yeah, that one stuck with me. I still say out of the Far Cry series, I'd have to say 5 was probably my favorite. The one in Montana, um the Montana one I think was probably my favorite. Just because of the scenery and everything. And I kind of liked the storyline of the the cultists, going off the rails and all that. I kind of like that. Um, and I would say that, and then probably the first one and the fifth one are probably my favorites. Um, 4. I'm trying to remember what was the setting for the fourth one. I remember 1, 2, 3, 5, and then what was the one, Primal, and then there was the one after 5 that was like, Kriot, okay. Oh, Kirat. Oh, that's right, okay. Um, yeah, so, uh, hey, Proudfoot Underhill's here. So yeah, the ones that stick with me the most are, one, because of how much I was blown away with the graphics of with the water and the scenery, and just how for that time how far ahead it seemed that their graphics technology and everything were. And then 5 stuck with me hardcore. 2 2 was okay, but the whole malaria thing, uh, I don't know why that kind of bugged me a little bit, the malaria mechanic in it, but you know, New Dawn, yeah, New Dawn. I didn't finish. That's the only one I don't think I finished. I don't think I finished New Dawn. I'm pretty sure I didn't finish it. Something else caught me off. I'm guessing Proudfoot. I'm guessing that was some type of a spelling error there. Today we played AO. Oh, okay. BX. Gotcha. Nice. Um, we're going to talk about this today as the show and tell stuff, the Star Wars role playing game stuff, which I've never actually played. Um, but I have a shit ton of it because of the deal I got on it. But we'll go through that in a second here. So it looks like we got Mike, Colin, and Proudfoot. So we got at least 3 people in here. So I was asking, I think before you other guys got in here, I asked Colin how the weather was and everything where he is, because we went from winter to summer. We didn't really have a spring. I don't know about you other folks, but that's the way it went for us anyway. So except for the poor people that were in Tornado Alley, they go from winter to summer with tornadoes in the middle, which is why I don't live in Texas anymore. Because I lived in North Texas in Fort Worth, and one tornado was enough for me. Uh, fuck that. That and the slipping on my driveway in the wintertime because it was a full ice storm that coated everything in ice, and I fell and broke my shoulder. So between the tornadoes and that, and then in the summer, the 100% humidity and 100-degree weather, those I was like, to hell with North Texas weather. I'm out. We're leaving. Yeah, that weather was horrible. I remember going to a Raider game. Texas, it was Dallas Cowboys at Texas Stadium before they tore it down and built the new one, and it was them versus the Raiders. And we were in the stadium that had a big ass hole in there. I mean, it was an open air roof and everything. And we were so goddamn. Me and my buddy were so hot and miserable in there because of the humidity and the heat, and we went out and basically finished listening to it in the parking lot because it was too uncomfortable in the stadium. That's ridiculous, you know. So yeah, I've lived in 4 different states: California, Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, and 3 years in Germany. So I've lived kind of all over. So anyway, I'm not gonna. Well, we got some more people in here. Good. I'm gonna do the show and tell stuff now. So the backstory on this is the Star Wars role playing game, tabletop role playing game. And I went online at a certain point. There was for some reason I wanted to get the actual game itself, the base game, and I don't remember what prompted that. We were still living in our condo before we moved here to this house, and I decided, I wanted to, because I didn't have any of the Star Wars stuff, so I was like, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get it, and I found this and this, both in shrink wrap, brand new in shrink wrap still. This is the Mos Eisley expansion for this. And they were both reasonably priced. And this one's upside down on the back here. So there's the back. If you guys want to see the back. And they were reasonably priced. But in addition to that, and I am not going to open these, because they're going to stay in shrink wrap until the day comes that I decide that we're going to actually play it at the table over here. And I think I had these two hardback books, which I'm going to ask you guys for your opinion here in a second. So I had these two already, I think, that I got at a secondhand store or something. Yeah, I'm not sure where I got this one. This one looks like it was bought at KB Toys. I'm not sure where this one was bought. But they're by West End Games, and I had that. And then everything else you're going to see, the rest of all this over here that I'm going to go through, this was all one bundle for $50 from the place where I bought these other 2 shrink wrap ones. So when I go through all that, you can see what I'm saying about what kind of a deal that was. So my question to you guys is about these two. Anybody that has played this game, this one is Star Wars, the role-playing game hardback, and this one says Star Wars source book. Hi, Mistra. So I can't figure out for the life of me what's the difference between the role-playing game hardback and the source book hardback. As far as I can't tell any difference. I don't know what the freaking difference is. I don't know if they were just different versions or what. So maybe Mike, maybe you know. Do you know the difference between these 2 books? The role-playing game book and the source book? Is they just imagery? You think, Mistra? Okay. So anyway, so I already had those, and then I bought those 2 shrink wrap box sets, and then everything else here, the same vendor that I bought this stuff from had all of this as one bundle for $50. I'm just going to kind of show you how much they had, and this is all new. Everything here is brand new. They had all of this for $50, and I bought it instantly. As soon as I saw the bundle, I was like, that shit's all new, and it was $50. There's no way you could ever, and that, now we're talking 10 years ago, so there's no way in hell you'd find that now. But I think I got lucky. So we're going to go through some of this stuff here. So we'll go through some of the hardbacks here first. So this is Star Wars role-playing game, Power of the Jedi source book. And this was when it was made for the D20 system by Wizards. Wizards, I guess, had the license for a while. Because I have a few things here um, that were by when it was produced by Wizards of the Coast. So this is the Power of the Jedi source book, and that's even got Mace Windu on it, which is kind of cool. Um, and yeah, this stuff's all like the bindings aren't even broken in on these. Um, and then this was the core. I guess this was the core rule book for the Wizards version. So you had this, yeah, because that's D20 Wizards of the Coast. Um, and it looks like this was put out right about the time as the prequels, probably. Um, then there was the Jedi Academy source book. Now this was still West End Games here. This is the Jedi Academy source book, so all about the Jedi Academy, which is kind of cool. Yeah, see, I just opened it and you could hear the binding start. Isn't even broken in. So all this, yeah, this stuff's all brand new still. So those were the hardbounds. Oh, and yeah, thank you for asking that, or saying that, Mister, about the extended universe. So, for any of you other Star Wars aficionados out there, um, uh, how much of this stuff that I'm getting ready to go through here do you think is part of is considered canon? Is any of the stuff from the role playing games? Is any of it considered uh, canon in the new? I mean, I know they got rid of the expanded universe, so does that mean everything in from the role playing games, all the shit I'm getting ready to go through here, all this is no longer canon, basically? Um, and also these are already bagged. I've already bagged and tagged these, so they have my mailing label on here. But this is for my PO box, so I'm not doxing myself when a lot of people. That's the first thing they want to say is, "Oh, careful, you're going to dox yourself." Now this is my PO box. You guys already have that, and it's already in the description down below. Some of you guys have already sent me stuff. So anyway, so this is how I bag and tag. Um, this is a thick book, so I had to actually use a bigger Ziploc bag and then tape it. This is called the Far Orbit Project, a pirates and privateer supplement. So it sounds like it's basically for your Han Solo types, smugglers, pirates, privateers, and so forth. So again, I don't know how much of this is considered. Oh, here's another hardback. I don't know how much of this is considered canon anymore, if anything, from the role playing game is, because there's a lot of material here. Even if you're just reading it just to be immersed in Star Wars lore, that's my question. It's like, okay, you could read all this shit, all this material, um, and would it work into the new um, universe, or if it's no longer considered canon? So this is the Tales of the Jedi Companion. This is a nice sized book here too. This is West End Games too, and this is all about the history of the Jedi. It looks like. Um, oh, this is a companion to the popular Dark Horse comic book series. Features detailed game statistics and histories for the people, places, starships, vehicles, and droids involved in the events leading up to the Great Sith War. In addition to this book, includes a detailed listing of all force powers ever featured in any Star Wars role-playing game product. So it's the histories and then the powers and the whole shittery. So, um, so yeah, and again, this is all part of that bundle, that $50. But it's absolutely crazy that I got all this for $50. So, let me make sure I'm getting caught up here. Fans of different opinion on what's canon, how ridiculous it would be. It's gotten to that point. Yeah, I agree. What was the guy? Timothy Zahn, the guy that wrote the Thrawn trilogy. I met him at our Comic Con here, and he was putting out a new book or something like that, and it was right when they announced when Disney bought Lucas, and uh, I asked him about it, and he was actually I thought for sure he was just going to be pissed about them buying it, but he was actually excited. He's like, "Oh yeah, well now somebody can actually do something with the IP." And all. I was actually blown away that he was on board with it. I thought he would be pissed, but it was the opposite. So, um, hey, Stoker's here. Hope you're having a good day, good weekend, big dog. Same at you, man. Uh, Tales of the Jedi is from the comics. Okay. I think fans are still adamant that Bane and Revan's settings are canon and screw what Disney, F what Disney says. Um, so this one is actually a miniature. I just realized this is a miniatures battle book for the miniatures game, Imperial Entanglements. And of course, I've got backing boards on here, so I can't see the back of it because already got it bagged and tagged. But I don't know anybody that plays the miniatures game. So, but again, it was a bundle, so I just took the whole damn thing. So, here is Platt's Starport Guide. So I'm guessing this is all about the different starports that you could use in your tabletop role playing campaign. That would be very useful for the game master as far as they're plotting out where the players could go and travel and everything. Having a full start, and that's a pretty decent sized book. So that was a good one. This is the Alliance Intelligence Reports. So again, this is just more. You could use it as lore. You could use it as flavor in your campaign. Or my guess is if it's intelligence reports, it's probably even plot hooks where you could give you ideas for different quest lines and so forth. So, this is Galaxy Guide 9, Fragments from the Rim. So I'm guessing they mean the Outer Rim. So yeah, if I didn't have these boarded, I'd be able to read more from the back, but unfortunately I can't. So I'm not going to open them all up. So, but anyway, yeah. So just a ton of content here. Here's so that was 9. Here's Galaxy Guide 5, Return to the Jedi. So I'm guessing this is basically the campaign, the Return of the Jedi campaign for the tabletop role playing game. It looks like most of this stuff is West End games, the stuff that I'm going through right now. This is the Kraken's Threat Dossier. So maybe again, more adventure hooks, plot hooks for your tabletop game. And here is the Best of Star Wars Adventure Journals 1 through 4, featuring works by Timothy Zahn and Kathy Tyers. So I don't know if that is so you could work it in with your tabletop role playing game, or if that is, I would guess it would have to be. And then the last thing I got here is Creatures of the Galaxy. Now this one I did go through because I was interested to see from playing Star Wars Galaxies, the MMO, how many creatures, because there's so many different creatures in that game, if they showed up in here. And there's very few crossover. Very few from the MMO crossover into this book. So, and this just says a supplement for the Star Wars role-playing game. So that's it. But that is all of that stuff. All of that stuff is one bundle for $50. Brand new stuff too, not used. That to me, that was crazy. I got lucky there. So that is my Star Wars. So if I ever do break into this and decide to do a campaign back here at the table, as you can see, I got plenty of source material. Let's see here. What did hey Bastille, if you checked in, you must have checked in earlier and I missed it. I'm sorry. Yep, you did, and I missed it. My bad. Um, SWTOR was canon before Disney because Valkorion is canon. I did know that um, it was canon before Disney, um, because all of the uh, there was the Old Republic, the MMO, but you also had Knights of the Old Republic, the single player games series, um, and as far as I know, that was all canon. Now I don't know if it's if they're still producing the MMO SWTOR, so I'm assuming that has to be they're considering it canon because otherwise, why would they still be supporting it? It's still an active game. So unless they want to start a brand new MMO from scratch and then ditch that and say that's no longer canon, but then they're abandoning the whole Knights of the Old Republic. So to Disney, none of that is canon. That's crazy. That's that's batshit crazy. That's okay. That doesn't even make any goddamn sense. No wonder. I got a buddy. I got a buddy who's read every Star Wars novel ever produced. Every one of them. All of them. Now I know that there's like well over 100 different he's read every single one of them. He is a Disney fanatic for Disney. He is a Star Wars fanatic. He has read every Star Wars novel ever produced. Over 100 of them, whatever it is. And yeah, he can't stand any of the new stuff because, and the way he explained it to me, because I haven't read the novels, the way he explained it to me is that Luke Skywalker in the novels becomes the most powerful Jedi anyone has ever seen, and he ends up having they end up having kids, and then of course there's Han Solo and Princess Leia's kids, and all that goes, and the stories he tells me are just incredible about the force powers and everything else in those books. I never read them, but so he can't watch any of the newer stuff. He said so. That said, it could always change if someone new gets in charge of Star Wars, so I'm rooting for that. Well, I'm guessing that isn't Kathleen Kennedy, right? Because I have my own issues with Kathleen Kennedy from having dealt with her at DreamWorks when I was at Universal Studios with DreamWorks. When she was at Amblin. She worked for Steven Spielberg at the time, so I have my own history with her there. But as far as I know, she's just in charge of the movie side of stuff, right? The films, or is she in charge of? She can't be in charge of the whole Star Wars IP, right? That doesn't sound right. Because she has no. I don't know what her qualifications for that would be. I don't know what her qualification. Well, I kind of know what her qualifications are for movies, but as far as the Star Wars universe, I don't know what specifically qualifies her for that. Because, yeah, Colin, I thought I told this story before, but maybe I didn't. So at Universal Studios, you have what's called the lower lot and you have the upper lot. The lower lot is where is basically the studio itself, where all the movies are filmed. You have the entire property is 420 acres, but most of that is the lower lot. It includes all the sound stages, the back lot where all the facades are, like New York Street, Colonial Street, Circle Drive, um, uh, where the Psycho House is, and where they filmed Jurassic Park, the log cabin, from all that shit. Basically, that whole property is all considered the lower lot. The upper lot is where the amusement park, the theme park is. The tram brings you down to the lower lot for the tour of the back of the lower lot and the back lot and all that stuff. But upper lot is basically the tourist area, and the lower lot's where all the filming's done. I was in charge of security of the lower lot. On the lower lot, there was a small compound that was built for Steven Spielberg after Jaws was the first blockbuster movie ever. Sid Sheinberg was the president of Universal Studios at the time. Lou Wasserman owned the studio, but Sid Sheinberg ran the studio. Sid Sheinberg and Steven Spielberg were best friends. Sid Sheinberg said after Jaws was such a massive hit, he said, "We're going to build you a little compound, Steven." And Steven called it Amblin. And you still will see the Amblin tag on some movies. They're still making stuff and they're still doing TV shows and stuff, and you'll see Amblin. So that's his compound that was built for him on the lower lot. And it was built kind of like, I think when they were building it is when he was making Raiders of the Lost Ark, because it's all that type of bamboo. It looks like a compound out of like something out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And so when that was done, it's staffed security wise. We staffed that separately as its own entity. We had our own, I had what we would call a post commander that answered to me, who was in charge of the security there. And that post commander answered directly to the client at Amblin because they were very isolated. They didn't like dealing with, they wanted to be their own little thing. And so I kind of just put that post commander in place and said, "You run the security, and if you have anything big happens where you got to let me know. Otherwise, it's your baby. You run it, right?" And so that person did all the hiring, firing for the security officers there, and then they just let me know everything's good or everything's not good, and here's the problems, etc. There was a problem. We had a security officer there that worked graveyard shift. This is at Amblin, and he couldn't hear. He had hearing aids. He had bad hearing, but he had hearing aids. Then no problem, right? He could hear. It's very important that security officers have every sense available to them. They got to be able to hear, smell. Got to be able to smell smoke. They need all their senses. Problem is, he didn't like wearing his hearing aids. He would take them out when he would get there, and he'd be sitting there. He'd have the monitors for the CCTV and everything, and he would just sit there, watch the monitors, and he would take the damn things out because he didn't like them. And then, of course, he couldn't hear if a panel was beeping, an alarm was beeping or something, or there was an intruder, he wouldn't be able to hear that or whatever. And, of course, we had issues with that. So, and I can't remember the post commander that worked for me there. I can't remember his name right now. But anyway, he came to me and he said, "Hey, man," he goes, "I got a problem." He goes, and I don't want to use the officer's name, so I'm not. We'll just say Smith. Smith doesn't want to wear his hearing aids when he's on post. He doesn't like them; they're uncomfortable or whatever. But he can't hear the panels. He can't hear. You can't have that, right? But he was loved by everybody at Amblin, including Kathleen Kennedy. And the bottom line was, we got to the point where he told him, you either got to wear them or you're going to have to be let go because we can't have you not being able to hear. Well, word is it got to the client somehow, and the client got me and wrote an email to me and saying, "Listen, we like him. We don't want him moved." And that's the end of it. They basically said, "We don't want him moved." And I, from a liability standpoint, protecting because it was a separate company. This was at the time American Protective Services. They're not even in business anymore. They were bought out by Pinkerton Security, but APS is who I worked for. We were a contracted security company, so there's liability if a fire alarm went off and he couldn't hear it, and the goddamn place burned down, including all of Steven Spielberg's original Norman Rockwell paintings that were on the hallways in there, and you're talking millions upon millions of dollars of damage. If that was all because that sumbitch didn't want to wear his hearing aids, we're liable. So we couldn't have that. Bottom line is, I got into it with Kathleen Kennedy about that, and in the end, we won, but it went all the way up. It got everybody, the studio involved, and it was a big shit show. We won. We ended up replacing him, but that's my history with Kathleen Kennedy. So, yeah, it was not a good situation. So, so Colin, you wanted to hear that story. There it is. That was my involvement with her. And then she ended up leaving and going to work I want to say she went to Paramount first. I can look it up. I'm pretty sure she went there first. Let's see here. Let's see here. Let's go here. Her first film as producer was E.T. Later, a decade later, Spielberg. She produced Jurassic Park. Da 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 da. But let's see where she was at. She helped co-found and run the production company Amblin Entertainment with Spielberg and her future husband Frank Marshall. And then I had my run-in with her. Let's see if she ended up. Where did she end up going? Let's see here. Trying to see where she ended. If she ended up going to. For some reason, I was thinking she went to Paramount first, but I'm not. I'm looking on. I'm looking on Wikipedia. So. Says in May 2012, she stepped down from Kennedy Marshall. So at some point, yeah, she must have just went straight to Lucasfilm. It looks like. I don't. For some reason, I was thinking she had gone to Paramount first, but I was mistaken there. So anyway, that is my. You guys wanted to hear that story. There's the story. So. Proudfoot says Guten Nacht. Carolyn. What does Carolyn mean? Guten Nacht means good night in German, but now I gotta find it. Unless that was meaning her name. So Average Estonian says, so emblem, it was Amblin. I'll type it here for you. Amblin Entertainment. Yes, it was basically it was its own ecosystem. That's a great way of putting it. So if you Google and there's pictures of the compound with the big gates, the big bamboo gates that open kind of like a compound, like you would think in Indiana Jones. And there's all the tropical trees and everything they have. It's the whole thing is themed that way. And it's funny that you say that about the ecosystem, because at that time it was completely self-sufficient. They had their own laundry facilities on the premises. They had a building called Boomers. They had a little bungalow in the back of the compound called Boomers. Boomers is where all the employees could take their children. When they came to work, they could bring their kids with them, and daycare was provided. So Boomers was the building where, and it was like a preschool too, and the kids could all go to Boomers and they would be taken care of. So the parent or parents could just go inside the building and go to work, but their kids were right there on the premises. There was also laundry facilities. So, and there was a kitchen that was staffed, pretty much almost around the clock with a chef, cook, and you could go there and they would just make whatever you wanted for any of the employees. And when I talk about it's not a big compound, and there might have been, I'm guessing between 30 and 50 employees at Amblin is all it was. It wasn't huge or anything like that. And then there were some other bungalows outside the compound that were also part of Amblin, but those were actually outside. And then there was a game room, like a break room that had all the video games and stuff that were free to play. So employees could go to. It was not uncommon that on the weekends, while they were closed, because employees could come anytime they wanted to work. You could have writers somebody that was a writer with Amblin or something like that. They would come in. It was not uncommon for them to come in on a weekend or even like let's say a Sunday, and they would bring their kids with them, and the kids could play at Boomers or whatever, and they would bring their laundry with them and do their laundry while they're upstairs working, writing or whatever. They'd be doing their laundry, their kids were taken care of, they could go down and get a sandwich. It was its own ecosystem. That's the best way to put it. When DreamWorks came about, DreamWorks SKG, Spielberg, Katzenberg, Geffen, DreamWorks, they created the studio and they didn't have any office space. When they put the cart before the horse. They created DreamWorks, the studio, made the announcement and everything, and didn't have any office space. So they came to Universal and were scrambling, saying, "We're going to need some office space for DreamWorks." And there's a building called Lakeside Plaza Drive, which was probably about a 6-story office building that was on the Universal property, and some of that was available. So they grabbed that, and then they started using Amblin too. And when they did that, Boomers went away. They got rid of the childcare stuff and they turned that into offices. Boomers went away. The kitchen went away. It became very corporate as soon as DreamWorks took over, because David Geffen was part of the studio, and David Geffen was the money guy. He was the typical corporate guy who pinches every penny and lean, mean fighting machine. So all the nice stuff at Amblin all went away. Boomers went away, kitchen went away, all that. But to answer your question, yes, before that, it was its own little ecosystem. Yes, that is a fact. I had no idea bringing all this out would have me start the whole Kathleen Kennedy Amblin DreamWorks corporate America rant, because that's all tied together. Yeah. Amblin before DreamWorks was more like a mom and pop feel, like a family thing, and then after DreamWorks took over, it turned corporate like that. So, as far as I know, after DreamWorks when they were created, they ended up building an animation studio in Glendale. That became one of my accounts as well. We provided the security officers to that too. But Amblin is still there today, as far as I know. And that's what Spielberg would always use to do projects. Let's say he floated an idea to the other studio heads at DreamWorks and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this or whatever." And if they weren't necessarily on board with it, he'd be like, "Oh, fuck it. I'll do it through Amblin," because Amblin was his. And he would continue to do that. So that's why I'm sure that's why he's kept Amblin, because he's like, well, that's mine. No matter what you guys say or whatever, I can always do stuff through Amblin. So. And if any of you guys are familiar with John Williams, who did the every music score for any Spielberg movie, his bungalow's outside of Amblin. At least it was. I don't know if it's still there. Excuse me. And he had the piano in there that he did all those scores on: Star Wars, Raiders, E.T., Jaws, whatever. That piano, at least when I was there before I left, it was still there, and he had written so much music on there and played so much on there that the ivory on the keys was worn off, like it was worn down. Like that's how much he played that piano. I'll never forget that. When I saw that, I was like, "Holy shit, that piano's got a lot of miles on it." If any of you guys know, I'm assuming some of you know who John Williams was. So he's still around. So as far as I know. He is 90 years old and he is still around. Probably the most prolific movie score writer of all time. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes left. Any last minute question? I wasn't expecting to go on that little tirade, but I hope that didn't bore anybody. But one of the greatest composers I think I may have heard, John Williams. Well, but see, Colin, I also don't know. Sometimes there's like really young people that might end up being in here because when I worked at the pool and I had all these lifeguards that worked there, teenagers, and I would say stuff like, um, uh, Tom Cruise is not a good example, but other actors that you think everybody knows who they are. Um, and they would look at you with a blank stare, like, and it's like, so I can't just assume that everybody is old enough to know who John was, and not to mention younger people may not even care about the scores of movie scores anymore. So I figured, people like you and Bastille and who else? I'm trying to Chupa. If Chupa's in here, he's probably old enough to remember all that stuff. And Mistra, because it sounds like Mistra is a giant Star Wars fan, so I know she knows who John Williams is. Any So good question. Then I have a question for you, average Estonian. If you're 27, did you know before I was talking about? Did you know who John Williams was, or did you know the name? This will be a good. Yeah. So yes, John Williams basically wrote. If Steven Spielberg made a movie, John Williams did the music for it. Um, and then he did all the Star Wars music up until I think um, the uh, the new uh, the sequels to until the Disney movies. I don't think he did the music for the Disney ones, but hey, Devin says I'm 23 and I know who Joe. Awesome. Uh, yeah. So yeah, he's 90 now and he's still around. But I don't think he's doing music scores anymore. Um, he might have retired. So, but I knew him from the Jaws, uh, the original Jaws soundtrack, the score, the famous dun 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 dun. That famous. I mean, everybody knows that that's ever seen the movie, and he was the one who wrote that too. So, all right, guys. Well, we're under 2 minutes here. I'm taking any last minute. Was that did he? Was there a uh, uh, similar music score that was stolen from? I've never heard that before, Colin. From Devojak? If that's true, I never knew that. I'll have to do some Google foo on that and see if I can figure that out. That's the first time I've ever heard that. So just the dun dun bit. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that but being a kid when I saw Jaws at the drive-in movie, and I was only like I want to say I was 10 years old, and that movie petrified me. Like I didn't want to go in the water for a long time after that movie came out. So, and that music had something to do with it too. So any of you younger folks, if you're still in here, you 20-year-olds, if you haven't seen Jaws, you need to go. You need to see Jaws. you can stream it, I'm sure. Um, well, like saying is good artists, great ones steal. If I remember saying, good artists, great ones steal. If I remember, I think I know what you're trying to say there. That there's only so much music, original, pieces of music that are ever going to be able to be written, and there's no way. It's just like comedians with their jokes, stand up. A 20 something stand up who's just starting now could end up telling a joke that they think is original because they came up with it in their head and they thought it was original. And it turns out that 50 years ago, Lenny Bruce or somebody did that exact joke, and somebody could say, "Oh, you stole that from Lenny Bruce," without them having any idea that that was ever a thing, because they both had the same thought, but they would get accused of stealing it, which wouldn't necessarily be stealing it. It was just they happen to have the same idea. The Fog and Salem's Lot scared me as a kid. The Fog, yes. Salem's Lot, was Salem's Lot Stephen King? Um, my grandpa called himself Grandpa Jaws and had a shark he would bring late as a child. The movie was traumatic. Yep. Um, a lot of people were traumatized by it. I thought for some, I don't know that I ever saw that though. I saw The Fog, but I don't think I ever saw Salem's Lot. I saw Pet Cemetery. Um, Pet Cemetery has one of the, so Stephen King is responsible for two movie scenes written based on his books that he wrote that they made movies out of. There are two scenes, one from Misery and one from Pet Cemetery. Those two scenes independently, each of them made me turn the TV off and walk out of the room. They were that disturbing. I know you guys know, if you ever saw Misery, you know exactly which scene I'm talking about from Misery. And Pet Cemetery, um, let's just say the one involving the scalpel. Yep, Colin got it. Yep, both of those. I literally was like, ah, turned it off and said, I gotta go walk out of the room. I gotta get that out of my head. Both of those scenes. Yep, only two times in my life I've ever literally turned something off and said, nope, I gotta get that. I gotta get that image out of my brain. It was that bad. Yep. So, all right, guys. Well, we're over an hour here, so I got to go finish laundry and a bunch of shit like that. I got a bunch of stuff to do. Don't watch. I've heard about Hostel. I I have heard horror stories, pun intended, about Hostel. Don't worry, I ain't got no intentions of watching that. And the Saw franchise. I saw snippets. Uh, I saw the I saw just a clip where they threw somebody in a fucking room filled with syringes or some crazy shit like that, and I was like, I'm out. Nope. Um, yeah, I was like, nope, not for me. Um, so there was an old movie called Phantasm that I don't know if some of you, Bastille, Colin, you guys might know that one. Maybe there was a movie called Phantasm that was, I saw that in the theaters when it came out, and that was freaking wild. Let me tell you what, that was a B movie, but damn, it was crazy. Well, this was fun, guys. I appreciate it. It was. I'm glad I got to show this Star Wars haul here, and we got to even tell the old Kathleen Kennedy. Now I hopefully I will remember. I hate telling the same story over again and boring people, but I guess I never told that one before. So Yeah, I got to do yard work probably this week. I got to go buy a bunch of um, that mulch stuff. Um, there's some planter areas I got to redo and stuff like that. So Colin says, I remember the TV adverts for Phantasm. It looked amazing. It was different. Woo wee. All I can say is if you can find it streaming somewhere, no idea how it will hold up now. It was a B movie then, so I'm imagining how bad it would be now. But there's a creepy the creepy dude in that, and then there's some other stuff. The silver sphere thing. I'm not going to go into any more detail other than say, yeah. Uh, if you have a chance, check it out and let me know what you think. So again, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so it was bad then. It could be completely horrible. Who knows? So, all right, guys, I'm out. I'm gonna go do some chores and stuff, and I hope you guys have a rest of a good Sunday. Estonian says, "Well, some B movies age like wine, but some don't." That is a very uh, true fact indeed. Some are okay, and others are like, "Ooh, why did I like that? That was terrible." So, all right, guys, I'm out. We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.